This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
It's that time of year again. Everyone knows that the holidays can become overwhelming quickly, so the sooner that you get things done, the better. For both shoppers and businesses, the best time to score great deals during the holidays is Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend. And that's why you need Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names like Allbirds and Cowboy e-bikes to entrepreneurs who will be participating in their very first Black Friday or Cyber Monday this year. Shopify has everything you need to succeed from start to finish. First, Shopify's marketing tools help push your brand to the forefront of the chaos, no matter what platform your customers are on. Then, Shopify helps draw customers in with the ease of a convenient checkout with Shop Pay, Shopify's expedited checkout that saves customers information and reduces hassle. The best part? Shop Pay has been proven to boost conversions, meaning you see less abandoned carts and more profits. You can also stress less knowing that Shopify's award-winning customer support team is on standby 24/7 to help with any issues that arise, allowing you to get back to business as fast as possible. This Black Friday, join thousands of new entrepreneurs hearing for the first time with Shopify. Sign up for your free trial today at shopify.com/income. That's shopify.com/income. Go to shopify.com/income and make this Black Friday one to remember.
Hey everyone, Chris DeMakes here, and I've got some exciting news. Chris DeMakes a Podcast is now on Patreon. Your support is what keeps this show going, allowing us to bring you deep dives into amazing songs from incredible artists every week. When you join our Patreon at chrisdemakes.com, you'll get instant access to hundreds of episodes of The After Party, our weekly bonus show, where producer Chris Fafalius and I talk music history, trivia, tour stories, classic albums, and whatever else comes to mind. Plus, you'll get early ad-free episodes of Chris DeMakes a Podcast, unedited video versions of each episode, and, of course, a brand new episode of The After Party every single week. If our show brings you a little joy, help us keep it going strong for just a couple bucks a month at chrisdemakes.com. Not ready to commit? No problem. You can sign up for a free membership while you decide. Thanks so much, everyone, and I hope to see you all at the after party.
Hey, everybody. Chris Fafalius here. It's time for yet another Throwback Thursday episode. This week, we're throwing it back to March of 2023 when Mick Conroy of Modern English sat in to discuss the writing and recording of a song that's pretty much become synonymous with the 80s, I Melt With You. For how enduring I Melt With You has truly been, you'd be surprised to know that it only went to number 78 in 1983, and then 2 spots higher 7 years later when it was re-released in 1990. It was the second single from the second Modern English album After the Snow. The song was released in August of 1982, and it broke into the Hot 100 in April of 1983. So let's take a quick look back at the time in history when I Melt With You started making its way into a lot of people's ears. So on April 7th of 83, the oldest human skeleton, believed to be aged 80,000 years, was discovered in Egypt. The discovery was made by archaeologist Fred Wendorf, and he found it encased in sandstone. A day later, on April 8th, and if you listen to the After Party podcast, you've probably heard Chris and I talk about this before, but April 8th of 1983 is the day that magician David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear in front of a live audience. On April 11th of 1983, the 55th Academy Awards took place. Gandhi won Best Picture, Ben Kingsley won Best Actor for his role as Gandhi, and Meryl Streep won Best Actress for her role as Sophie in Sophie's Choice. On April 17th, pitcher Nolan Ryan struck out his 3,500th batter. He still holds the record for strikeouts today with 5,714. No one else is even close to him. Randy Johnson is number 2, but he's like 900 strikeouts back from that. It was 10 days later, on April 27th of 1983, that Nolan Ryan actually became the strikeout king with 3,509 strikeouts, and it's wild to think that he'd strike out another 1,800 or so batters after he became the all-time leader. And on April 30th of 1983, blues legend Muddy Waters passed away at the age of 70. What other songs were popular at this time? The biggest song during April of 1983 was Billie Jean, but also popular at this time were Culture Club's Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?, Duran Duran's Hungry Like the Wolf, Come On Eileen from Dexy's Midnight Runners, Mr. Roboto from Styx, You Are from Lionel Richie, Prince's Little Red Corvette, Men at Work's Overkill, and David Bowie's Let's Dance. The biggest movie at this time was Flashdance, a movie that I still haven't seen. Actually, it came up on, I don't know if it was HBO or what the other day, and I thought about watching it, and I didn't even know the other day that Flashdance takes place in Pittsburgh. I think that's kind of neat. But I also saw that at the time, Roger Ebert put it on his most hated list. This Throwback Thursday episode, though, is not going to make anybody's most hated lists because this episode's so much fun, and it's about a song that continues to live on all these decades later. For March 27th, 2023, this is episode 148 of Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Mick Conroy discusses modern English's I Melt With You. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, today's guest is Mick Conroy, bassist for the Colchester, England new wave band, Modern English. Together we take a deep dive into the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the smash hit single, I Melt With You, taken from their 1982 album, After the Snow. Mick was an absolute pleasure to talk to, and was quick to credit producer Hugh Jones with pulling the reins on the band, getting them to be a bit more constrained and focused than they were on their first record, where they had more of an anything-goes attitude. Mick recalled that it was the spring of 1982. The weather was warming up a bit in England, and there was an overall feeling of optimism within the band that definitely shows in the track. The studio where they worked didn't have a lot of gear, but they made do with what they had, and the results speak for themselves. This 40-year-old song is still everywhere. I asked Mick if he still gets a kick out of playing it live, and he answered with a resounding yes. He's grateful for the song, all the doors that it's opened for the band, and continues to open. So for all this and a whole lot more, stick around.
Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a Podcast.
Hey Mick, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. This is really cool how this happened. One of my band, Less Than Jake's former producer, Steve Kravac, is doing live sound for you. I saw him post something the other day, and I hit him up and said, oh my gosh, if we could get someone from Modern English to be on my songwriting podcast, I would be elated, and here you are. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, it was, well done, Steve Kravac, and well done for spotting it. Yeah, we've worked with Steve for about, I don't know, 6 years now. He's part of the furniture. Good guy.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So your story's amazing. I mean, 40 years on, and here we are talking about a track that you wrote all the way back then. Did you ever think you'd still be talking about this when you wrote this as a young man?
And absolutely not. I mean, I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and generally, people have said the same thing. It's like it was. I listened to the Toto Africa podcast. It's classic the way songs that the band in the studio are thinking, I'm not sure about this one. Is it going to make the album? And then it does, and it walks off and has a life of its own. We had no idea, absolutely none.
I guess if anyone were to ever say to me, "Oh yeah, we knew this was going to be a smash," I'd probably have to step back for a moment and go, "Wait a second, are they pulling my leg here?" Because how would you know?
Nice.
Especially when you're that young. None of us I wasn't thinking about money. I just wanted to maybe, if people showed up to the pub to see me play, I could get maybe a beer or two out of it. That was a home run, right?
Yeah, I mean, when like you said, it was 40 years ago. Our hope was that John Peel might play it.
Right.
If it gets played on late night radio, we're kind of validated. It's like someone likes it. He's he can play it to other people. We weren't so arrogant that we thought we were like onto something. We just we were just doing another track on the album. Right.
And for those outside of the UK, John Peel, just renowned in England, basically kind of like, we had Dick Clark over here, American Bandstand. If you got on John Peel or Top of the Pops, like that was something.
Yeah. I mean, John Peel was even more alternative. It was what you heard during the daytime on BBC Radio 1 was, like top 40 radio here in America. It would have to be like, John Peel was like the equivalent of, going to Boston and hear, the city of Boston and hearing college radio in America for the first time. You'd hear things like REM and, Susie and the Banshees on suddenly, these college radio stations. Even in England, it was, during the daytime, it was pure pop.
Right. Well, the band formed in 1979 in Colchester, Essex, in England, which is northeast of the London area, not too far. And Mick plays the bass and sings for the band. You're an original member, as well as Robbie Gray on vocals and Gary McDowell on guitar and vocals. And the band for this recording was rounded out by Richard Brown on the drums and Stephen Walker on the keyboards. And in 1979, you guys signed to 4AD Records. Your debut album, Mesh and Lace, was released in 81. And your second album, After the Snow, was released in May of 82. And that featured I Melt With You. And I mean, I know that you've definitely lived this, but I was just thinking as I'm going through this song the past couple of days, I've heard this song everywhere. I heard it at college parties. I heard it at punk rock parties. I heard it coming out of the mall. I heard it at the doctor's office. It's just one of those songs that's woven into the fabric of society.
Yes, to all of the above. I mean,
yeah. Sorry for stating the obvious, but it's incredible.
No, it's completely true. You don't really get elevator music anymore. But my ambition, my hope is that one day I get into a lift and I can hear, just a background, cheesy version of the song, even though there have been cheesy versions of it recorded.
Yes, and I found several of them on YouTube.
There's a guy called Richard Cheese.
Yes.
I mean, his version is. When I first heard it, I thought, God, what have we done?
I'll stop the world and melt with you. You've seen the difference, and it's getting better all the time. And there's nothing you and I won't do. I'll stop the world and melt with you.
It's just nice to hear so many different versions of it as well. I mean, there's hundreds on YouTube.
Well, and speaking of versions, I want to get into that in a moment, but the album was produced by the band and Hugh Jones, and Hugh Jones is also known for Echo and the Bunnymen, The Sound, and The Damned, among others. A fantastic producer. And something really cool, I loved this movie back in the day. 1983, Nicolas Cage starred in a romantic comedy called Valley Girl, and I Melt With You was featured in the film, and of course, it was all over this new thing back then called music television, MTV. And You know, I did a little research on this because, Mick, we're going to talk about the single version today, the single edit that was used in the video, which is about 19 seconds shorter than the album version. There's a couple little differences. One of the biggest differences is the single edit was mixed in mono, and I think I know why. MTV back then, they may have had stereo capability, but most of the TVs were in mono. Is that correct?
Do you know what? When we recorded the song, honestly, we had no idea, that television, MTV, being in the movies, the Valley Girl was ever going to happen. It was purely because, this was 1982, and singles, if they got played on the radio station, people had mono radios. They had transistor radios,
right?
And also we liked the like the old Beatles and Rolling Stones records. They were all recorded in mono. It's just, straight down the middle. And Sony Walkmans. I don't even know if people had Sony Walkmans at the time,
They were, if they did, they were just coming out.
Yeah.
And, Mick, you just said up the middle. And for the listeners, mono is just, everything's there. In stereo, you're getting a stereo mix, which means a right and a left mix. That's why a lot of times on the show, I'll talk about, this guitar came in here, panned off to the left. And I'll tell you, listening to the mono version, it's great. It's the version everyone pretty much knows. When you listen to that album version, wow, there's stuff panned off, and it's a great mix.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I part of my homework, I was thinking I've got to listen to I'm Out With You again.
Even though you're going to probably play it on tour in a day or two.
Yeah. But I actually I wrote some notes down, and I was thinking about how I had a feeling you'd talk about the 7-inch, and
yes,
I just wrote mono. So I was thinking I don't have to worry about any pans or I think on the album version there's the piano comes in on the Future's Open Wide.
Yes,
I have a feeling that might be stereo and going across, but on the single, I mean, it's quite a catchy little piano part, I think
it's unreal.
I think it's everything is just kind of in your face, as we would say.
Yeah.
I do remember, we recorded it at Rockfield in Wales, the residential studio. It's quite a famous studio,
right? Yeah.
I mean, you're a muso, you go to enough studios, and it's like, when you're young, you put them on the biggest speakers possible,
Yeah.
So you're kind of big, like, and we'd kind of like do the, switch it from mono to stereo to see how much difference it made,
Yeah.
We thought, well, it's not much different. But then, of course, you go down from the big studio speakers to the NS10s, the Yamahas. And then in those days, it would be a small Roberts transistor radio. Then you'd go down to, the radio, so you could hear it on a very small speaker. There was a possibility, we thought, well, this is definitely the poppiest song, the catchiest song on the album. So there's a chance it could be released as a single. We finally did the mono version later on, but we'd test everything. Because, when you got down to the single speaker of the Roberts radio, everything's in mono anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here at home, I for walking around, I have one of these, a boat revolve thing or whatever they're called.
Sure.
I only have one, so it's a bit like everything's in mono in my world anyway.
Bluetooth speaker, yeah.
Yeah. I've got a JBL thing that's about this wide, and sometimes I find I've got my nose up against it to see if I can hear it.
Well, something I know you can agree with, I've said this before, nothing sounds better than a recording you're proud of in the studio. When the engineer, producer pushes up all the faders and they're coming through those big speakers you're talking. It just, you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I ever heard. And then you get the cassette out to the car and you're like, okay, it's still good, but it doesn't sound like it did in there.
Yeah. I mean, I do, I'm in New York now, but in England, our bases where me and Robbie also live there, I have a studio, and I'm forever going into my car, to see what it sounds like in my
sure,
compared to what I was listening to earlier. Then I put on it's like bounce 1, and then 10 minutes later bounce 2, until you get to like definitely final bounce 7, guitar on left hand side. And I'm forever in my car, and the car is, it's quite a good judge of what you're doing, listening to what you've mixed in a car.
Especially if you listen to all your other music in there, that's a great gauge.
Yeah. And I mean, often you wonder why, when you're in the studio and you listen to stuff from the big speakers, that no one else, hardly anyone experiences stuff like that.
Right.
It's kind of like how studios make their money. We've got really speakers that, sound amazing.
Well, I got to tell you something. I'm sitting here chuckling inside because I spent about 20 minutes last night with my producer, Chris, freaking out about there's a mono mix for the single, but the album version is the stereo. And then they also re-recorded a version in 1990. What do we talk about? You're just so nonchalant. You're like, oh yeah, the mono version. So this is great. We're going to talk about the single version. And speaking of that 1990 version, I did listen to that. And what was the reason for re-recording it then? Was it a label issue? A lot of times we have re-record rights. If we re-record something, we could use it for car commercials, etc.
We'd spent a few years of being quite dormant, me and Robbie, after our fourth album, and TVT Records in New York. They, the guy who ran that, Steve Gottlieb, was convinced that I'm Out With You could have done better, and so he basically signed us up and said, you really should do I'm Out With You again. And we thought, how much? And he went, and we said, okay, it was our first time actually. I love all music, and there's so many different versions that people do of songs anyway. And, like David Bowie, how many times has he re-recorded Space Oddity or done different versions of Heroes?
Eric Clapton did Layla. I mean, there's been tons of them, but in this instance, this was pretty much like the original version, just, sounded different because technology, I think, got different in 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, but, we still recorded that onto multi-track. The first time, 2-inch tape, when we did the first one, we only had 24 tracks. And then when we did it the second time, there was a 48 track, 2 machines going around, which that was in about 1989. And we'd already started to use stuff like Notator and Creator, which was like forerunner to Logic, which you're using now.
Yeah.
And that everyone uses, or Pro Tools. But I still think the original version, the Hugh Jones one that we did, is the most charming of the ones that we've done.
Yeah, you're calling it charming. I'm calling it magical. There's something about that one. There's a spirit of that one, and there's been bands that re-recorded stuff that captures the spirit better. Very rarely I find that, and in this instance, there's just something about that original track that it's just awesome.
I think a lot of that has to do with the studio, Rockfield. There's so many amazing records that have been made. I don't know if you saw the Queen film, but
yes.
Okay, well, that they're in Rockfield in that film. The actors are. And there's a and I think, wow, they actually are in Rockfield, except they had a chandelier. For Freddie Mercury's scene, there's not a chandelier at the studio.
Well, yeah, they gotta build the movie up a little bit, but in all, you guys have released 8 records. Your most recent one was "Take Me to the Trees" in 2016, and last year, for the 40th anniversary of the album After the Snow and I Melt With You, you guys did a Tonight Show appearance with Jimmy Fallon that was just absolutely fantastic. You guys sound like you did 40 years ago.
I'll stop the world, it melts with you. You see me getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't do. I'll stop the world and melt with you.
There was a great day. I mean, I think that was the first time in absolutely ages that we'd actually done anything on television, and it was so. It was a really good show to be on. Obviously, it was like really exciting. That we were on the Jimmy Fallon show, and I mean, he was such a nice guy, and he was, genuinely really excited about it. You kind of think, I wonder what he got up to, 40 years ago when this record was. People have so many kind of like, stories, like most people will tell you, that people have, everyone has a story that's related to, I'm out with you. Some of them are, you can't repeat, and others are just a nod and a wink, and you kind of get the idea.
Well, I heard this song coming out of my clock radio in 1982 when I was 9 years old, the mono version, because my clock radio was definitely mono. Okay, so I wasn't getting up much to then, Mick. I'll tell you, though, about 10 years later when I was in college at the University of Florida in Gainesville, yeah, I definitely did some partying to this song. So it's and we'll save that for another podcast. That's all I'll say about that. But I want to jump into the mono single edit right now of I Melt With You. 3 minutes and 50 seconds, 8-bar intro, insanely danceable swing on the drum groove here, along with bass, keyboards, I think clean guitar, and is that a 12-string acoustic on there?
Actually, I think it's there is a 12-string, and there's also an Ovation guitar.
Because it's interesting. It sounds kind of chorusy, which I almost thought at first, maybe this is just two acoustics playing, but I'm like, no, I think there's a 12-string in there.
Yeah, and also it's going through a Leslie speaker.
Okay, that's awesome.
I mean, one really good thing about Hugh Jones is that, on our earlier recordings, it was like loads of noise, effects pedals, and, it's quite chaotic, our first album and our first earlier recordings. Hugh kind of reined us in a bit. And everything he went for was, natural. If there's a distorted guitar, that's generally for a Vox AC30. Microphones, the distance, and doors are open for corridors. There's all of that, but the intro is definitely I'm quite sure it's a Leslie. I know we put a lot of guitars through the Leslie, and there's a lot of at Rockfield there's an Echoplex room as well. Further down that we'd put a cabin and a mic in there as well.
For the listeners, a Leslie is it's like a speaker that kind of rotates. How would you describe it? It rotates the sound and gives it this almost flangey type. It's awesome.
Yeah, they're made for Hammond organs originally, and it gives it a kind of like a chorus type. I think the word is a Doppler effect. Like a police siren.
Yeah.
When Nina, you're not exactly sure where the sound's coming from because it's being pointed in different directions.
And it's super cool that, you brought up that producer Hugh Jones kind of reined you guys in, because even with this track, and we'll get into it, there's so much going on. And I think the reason that the track allows so much to go on, like the keyboard parts and the guitar parts are so busy underneath the vocals. It shouldn't work. But it does, and I think it's because the whole song only goes between C major and F major for the whole thing, except the two musical interludes that happen in the track. And again, we'll get there, not trying to get too far ahead of myself, but as I'm going through this song, I'm like, there's so many times my band, it's like, yeah, but I got this great guitar part. It's like, yeah, but it's stepping all over the vocal. I'm like, but the guitar part's great. Like, the vocal's better. Your guitar part's not going in there, And in here, there's just so much stuff. After we get out of this intro, we get into verse 1.
Moving forwards, using all my breath. Making love to you was never second best.
saw the world crashing all around your face, never really knowing it was always mesh and lace.
I know you didn't write the lyrics, Mick, but I'm gonna read these and have you set them up as best as you can. Did Robbie write this lyric?
Rob did, and with a lot of guidance from Hugh. I mean, with modern English, it's like the music's always done first. And before we started recording the album, we did a lot of pre-production with Hugh, so we knew what we were doing. Keyboards are always done last in the studio. And vocals are always done, the vocals are the very last thing that goes on. In rehearsals, we were in the studio in London, Alaska, rehearsal studio. Robbie would, there'd be a lot of kind of him, spitting out words, lyrics, melodies, etc., etc. And that "I'll Stop the World and Melt with You" was definitely in there. And he was fighting furiously, to try and kind of like keep up with everyone. It's definitely Rob who navigated the lyrics of that one.
One more thing before we get in the verse one, I wanted to mention about the intro. It's doing this like tom thing with the drums, and It's actually the chorus feel of what's happening there in the intro. But verse one lyrics: moving forward, using all my breath, making love to you was never second best. I saw the world thrashing all around your face, never really knowing it was always mesh and lace. Which I have to ask, on that last line there, Mesh and Lace was the title of your debut record.
Correct.
Yeah, so was that just a kind of fun lyric to throw in there for maybe the fans, or how'd that come about?
Yeah, I mean, it was Mesh and Lace was kind of like good, bad, yin, yang, black, white. And don't forget we were very young, so it was imagery was, was quite important to us, especially with our artwork that we had. And, these lyrics have been analysed so many times, and I've heard Rob on occasions tell us a completely different story about what they mean.
And I love that, because I've done that before too. You get bored. Hey, I've told this story 30 times. I'm going to make something up.
Yeah.
Is mesh and lace an English colloquialism? I haven't heard that term used before.
No, it was we had a song called Mesh and Lace, and it didn't actually make the album. The first Mesh and Lace album, that's why we called it Mesh and Lace. But the chorus for that song was "trapped in a maze of mesh and lace." I thought it was quite a good line for Rob. And so then we called the album Mesh and Lace. And then, Rob chucked in "never really knowing it was always mesh and lace," which was kind of like possibly being in a maze, trapped,
Okay. And do you know if this was autobiographical, biographical, or was he just writing a story?
We didn't really write love songs, but I think, I don't want to, preempt Robbie, in case you ever hears this. But I mean,
you're still in a band with him. You might never hear the end of it. I get it.
Yeah. It was definitely a love song. I think it was dedicated to someone in his head.
Fair enough. Well, the drums go to a straight beat here in verse one, along with a great bouncy bass line. The bass tone on this, not because you're in front of me, I'm telling you, it is so good. And how the parts just all work together here is great. And a clean, almost sounds like a hollow body guitar is playing a fairly busy riff, kind of the hook of the song that somehow perfectly exists with the lead vocal here. It just somehow, you're allowed to have this moving guitar part with this vocal. And again, a lot of times I've heard producers say it, there's too much going on here. And was that ever a discussion? There was too much going on here.
I mean, like I said, Hugh reined us in. The bass line, there's actually two bass lines in the verse. It does that do. It was, do you remember a band called the Rosillos?
Not familiar with their stuff, but I know the name.
I think you'd really like them. They had a song called "I Love My Baby Because She Does Good Sculptures." Yeah. And the song, I mean, they were like a punk rock band, and obviously no one was a brilliant musician. It's just like two notes: E, A, do 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 kind of thing. I always liked that song. But then I had a more busy bass line, and I actually wanted to use the busier bass line, which is the second half of the verse. And you said, do something more simple for the first part of that. And so it gives, Gary a chance to kind of weave his way through.
Yeah.
Basically the bass, on that song, the bass and drums were recorded first. Then the guitar parts were, it was definitely more worked on in the studio, what Gary would play. And initially, I think in rehearsals, it was just a bass and drums and the vocal kind of like guide. I know it shouldn't work, but it does. You have to kind of be on the groove.
It's hard to explain. I'm sure some of the listeners are going, I don't understand what he means by it doesn't work. It totally works here, but it's just typically you don't have something that busy behind a vocal. It's just it's awesome though. I marvel at it. Chorus 1 comes quickly, 37 seconds, and that's pretty quick. The drums go back to that intro feel on the floor tom, the kick and snare, with clean guitar chords strummed on the one beat, with bass, acoustic guitar, and a synth part running with everything here. And again, the synth part is busy like that other guitar lick. This synth lick is really busy in this chorus, but it completely works.
Mesh and lace. I'll stop the world and melt with you. You've seen the difference, and it's getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't do. I'll stop the world and melt with you.
I gotta ask, were the vocals doubled in the chorus?
I'm quite sure they are. Yeah,
okay.
They would have possibly been tripled. One of those things, we didn't really know it until it happened, that Rob's actually really good at double tracking. Before, we used to use, I'm sure you remember, but, 16-track studios. And so you'd be running out of space. And there used to be this ADT machine, automatic double tracking. They were what John Lennon used to use, the Beatles. They were made by Abbey Road people. It was like a slight off, so it sounded like two people were talking at the same time.
Yes.
Now they have them in Logic. I think Waves make them.
Right. And basically, instead of having to sing it twice, you're singing it once, but it's splitting it off by just a couple nanoseconds or something to make it sound like there's two.
If you ever got the chance, it was like Robbie would always double track, choruses anyway, just to make it sound, it's like, here's the chorus, there's more of the singer.
For sure. Well, the lyric is, I'll stop the world and melt with you. You've seen the difference, and it's getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't do. I'll stop the world and melt with you. And I noticed right off the bat, heard this song a million times, but it's interesting. It starts with the lyric, I'll stop the world and melt with you, and it ends with it.
I know.
And I know there's other songs that do that. Off the top of my head, I can't think of them right now. I know there's other ones, but it's great when the hook is that strong that you can have it lead off the chorus and have it end it. On the second line here, it starts off unison on one of those doubles. You've seen the difference, but then you get a harmony on the back half, and it's getting better all the time. That's the only harmony that comes in there. And another thing I have to ask, are there hand claps on the snare here?
Quite probably. This is one of the... I'm quite sure there are. I've got loads of hand claps and stuff in my, folders that in Logic way back there. Occasionally I get the rock-filled hand claps out for demos.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. But there's definitely hand claps in there. And any other people that you talk to have recorded at Rockford will tell you there's a corridor along the live room. It's a great big old barn, and the doors open and mics are put outside. So, and it just sounds, that it's all like natural reverb going on in there. So, and claps and snares. Simple Minds did their Empires and Dance, the American song, a couple of albums at Rockfield, when really big snare sounds were coming in the early 80s. I mean, Robert Plant was there when we were there with Cozy Powell getting big 80s snare sounds.
Hey everybody, we got to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, but we got lots more with Mick Conroy coming up after the break.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits, to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. You know how every family has one person who always wins Christmas? This year, that's going to be you, thanks to Aura Frames. An Aura Frame is the perfect gift. You can preload it with unlimited photos and videos straight from your phone. So by the time you're giving it to someone, it's already packed with memories. I got one for my mom, and I'd already been stocking it with photos of my family, fun pictures from places I visited on tour, and even a few embarrassing childhood photos, because those are always good for a laugh. She opened it up, turned it on, and we sat there just watching the frame instead of the TV. We even added a selfie of us together that very moment. It's crazy, but true. You can add unlimited photos and videos to the frame using the Aura app. Every frame comes in a premium gift box, ready to go. And it connects to Wi-Fi, so you can keep adding new memories all year long. You can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code DeMakes at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code DeMakes. This exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal is the best of the year, so order now before it ends. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
The Burlington Coat Event is back. Buy a coat now through November 29th and get $5 off your merchandise purchase of $25 or more from December 6th through December 24th. Plus, Burlington is donating 50,000 new coats to help those in need nationwide through our partnership with Delivering Good. We've been keeping you warm for over 50 years. We'll see you at our coat event. Burlington. Deals. Brands. Wow. Visit burlington.com/coats for details.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. From the creator of Homeland, Claire Danes and Matthew Rhys star in the new Netflix series, The Beast in Me, as ruthless rivals whose shared darkness will set them on a collision course with fatal consequences. The Beast in Me is a riveting psychological cat and mouse story about guilt, justice, and doubt. You will not want to miss this. The Beast in Me is now playing only on Netflix.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in... Ooh, crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
Hey friends, have you been loving Krista Makes a Podcast? Well, spread the love by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't hesitate to share what you enjoy about the show in an actual written review on Apple Podcasts. Not only does it help more people discover us, but we often read reviews in the wrap segment of the show. It's a quick, cost-free way to support us and takes just a minute of your time. Your reviews mean the world to us and help us keep the podcast thriving. Thank you for being a listener, and thank you for being a friend.
And now, back to the show.
Right out of chorus 1, we go into verse 2.
Dream of better lives, the kind which never hate. Trapped in a state of imaginary grace. I made a pilgrimage to save this human race. Never comprehending the race had long gone by.
Same instrumentation as verse 1, and here you get these call and response vocals that are happening that were not on the album version.
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden did you guys decide, was this something that producer Hugh Jones thought that was needed for a single version?
Right, yeah. With so we were on 4AD Records, which was a record label that was above a record shop, Beggar's Banquet. They were all part of the same thing. And, 4AD was, like there was a desk over here, and Beggar's Banquet was like 3 desks put together. There was like, basically at the time, people in the office started to hear it, thinking, bloody hell, this, modern English, this sounds a bit different for them. And so normally you just put a single out, whereas for this, it was decided that we should make it shorter and go back to the studio and do backing vocals and make it more like a classic old-fashioned 7-inch single, that's already... We just didn't have time when we were in Rockfield. And then when we got there, the vocals kind of came out of thin air. We should know better. We should see why. Let's stop the world. It took us, 8 hours to do the entire mix and chuck on those vocals and move the keyboards, because on the album version, the keyboards don't even appear on the first chorus. And we cut the second bridge, The Future's Open Wide.
Yes.
As well. So it was a bit like, but it's a 7-inch, let's just chuck everything in.
Well, I got to tell you, when I went back and listened to the album version, it sounds naked to me now.
Yeah.
Because the single version's the one that everybody hears, that I've heard a million times, Here's something else I could not discern, and maybe you can clear it up, because you just said we, but it sounds like that backing vocal, and it starts off verse 2. Is it we should know better or you should know better? Because it sounds like you and we on that first note, like there's 2 voices. Someone saying you and someone saying we.
Well, I'm going to have to listen to it. It's probably did happen. And how sometimes when you're in the studio and you kind of like fluff something and you come back in and you think, should I mention it and see if anyone else knows?
Yeah.
If they don't, you just carry on. You think like, okay, but only maybe because Hugh did pretty much. Hugh was the backing vocalist on the entire album.
Oh, okay. So Hugh did some backing vocals, and that's interesting. And maybe it was a situation where, maybe it was both said. Someone else came in and said we while he said you, but it starts off, you should know better. Dream of better lives, the kind which never hate. And that backing vocal, you should know why, or we should know why.
Yeah.
Trapped in the state of imaginary grace. You should know better. I made a pilgrimage to save this human's race. You should see why. Never comprehending the race had long gone by. Amazing harmony on that last line. Same instrumentation as verse 1 and verse 2 here, but where do you think he's going here with the lyrics, Mick?
I mean, the lyrics are incredible. It's full of hope, that he's talking about there. And, just what could be and what we, I mean, when we were working and doing that album, we were absolutely dirt poor. We lived in a squat in London, and, it was, then we were transformed to Wales, Rockfield, for 6 weeks. And it was, I know this sounds really a bit of a cliche, but it was recorded in about March. So it was like spring was happening, and we were in this amazingly beautiful countryside, and it was impossible to be, too gloomy, and we were in a residential place, and we were being, that it was just a really good time for us. And I think, optimism as well. And we were kind of like, everyone was really enjoying the process of the recording. And, with Rob, he'll quite often, the last minute change lyrics. It's like, a line might be quite down, and then suddenly he wakes up in a much better mood and thinks, do you know what? I'm going to change that to everything's amazing.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, it's like, you guys don't get a lot of days of sun over in the UK. So it's springtime. You're seeing the rabbits outside the studio and the birds are, chirping, and it had to be a good feeling.
Yeah. I mean, it was, it's so long ago, but I remember, it being we were just having a really good time, making really good music.
It sounds like it. Well, chorus 2 starts off with a backing vocal very reminiscent of what was going on in verse 2.
I'll stop the world and melt with you. You've seen the difference and it's getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't do. I'll stop the world and melt with you.
Let's Stop the World is the backing vocal, and then it goes lead backing vocal for the rest of it. I'll stop the world and melt with you. Let's stop the world. You've seen the difference, and it's getting better all the time. Let's stop the world. There's nothing you and I won't do. Let's stop the world. I'll stop the world and melt with you. And you get a great harmony on that. You've seen the difference, and it's getting better all the time line. Same instrumentation as chorus 1, except that synth part is now played up an octave here. Okay, that wasn't on the original recording on the record, but you did put that lower octave synth part in chorus 1. Now it's up here, and man, it just lifts this chorus. It's so good.
Yeah. That was Hugh. I mean, he was in charge of octaves and pretty much keyboards there. I mean, there's so many things that we learned from Hugh Jones, and it was even though it's a 7-inch, it's still kind of like making things happen, and kind of like the interest. I mean, hardly anyone people, like I said, you're a muso, most people don't even notice this kind of stuff, It's almost like, I wonder who will notice this if I kind of play that line back to front this time round,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's kind of, it's a common, studio ploy, it's a kind of, it's like you might have heard it the first time round, but we're going to make sure you hear it the second time.
Yeah. It's so good. It just completely, it's like it's the same chorus, but it's not because of that. And of course, you're getting in those backing call and response vocals, which are great. At the end of chorus 2, we get our first chord change outside of the C major to F major. For the first interlude and the second interlude, it's the same chorus progression. We get E minor, G, A minor to C. and it's just such a relief at that point in both spots. And the first 4 bars, the drums go to a new tom snare shuffle here with the bass. Sounds like a guitar is doing harmonics here. A piano is slightly maybe detuned with some delay here. And on the 6th bar of 8, you get the lyric, "The future's open wide." That lyric right there, it sounds like there's a couple voices saying that are really reverbed out. It's a cool sound.
That whole section was, when we started the album with Hugh, we had lots of bits and bobs and songs, floating around. That section was actually originally a different song. That was kind of like a bit of a hangover from the first album, Mesh and Lace. It starts E minor. How doomy can you get?
Yeah. Well, this is crazy that you say this, because I totally agree. It could be its own separate song. And I've mentioned this on the show before. Have you ever written something where you say, I can't waste this on a bridge part? This is too cool. And to that point, maybe your thinking was, well, it's so cool that we have to do it again, because it happens again, which is weird. It's another weird part of this song, how, after this, we're going to go to a chorus right back to it, but it's so great.
Yeah. I mean, that whole part of the song was, that was where Hugh really came in. Hugh was, dominant and present throughout, but, and it was originally the Future's Open Wide section was a lot slower. But Richard, the drummer, we had that kind of like floor tom kind of thing going off anyway. Which Richard was really good at that kind of drumming. Kind of like less fall to the floor type stuff, kind of thing.
I feel like he straddles the line perfectly between rock drummer and dance drummer, because there's something so danceable about this song.
Yeah. When we started, working with Hugh, we'd never played to a click track. So, that was our first album. You can listen. Once I did an interview, and the guy said to me, there's an amazing tempo change on one of the songs, as if we did it deliberately. But I said, no,
right.
That was take 2, and that was all the time we had for. And, we didn't know that there was a tempo, that it shifted that quickly. So it's like Richard, the drummer, had, like a Dr. Rhythm click track going in his headphones all of the time. And,
right.
With a lot of the tape was edited, or lots of drop-ins were occurring, because, as I said, we were very young and didn't really, before you just do a fill, and hope for the best, on the next section, whereas with this, it had to be kind of like a bit more regimented.
This whole section, that guitar lick that comes in is so cool. It starts creeping in, followed by an 8 bars of this synth solo. And the whole band is in here, drums, bass, acoustic guitar. And there's also the intro guitar lick being played with a keyboard lick now together near the end of this musical interlude. It's so great.
I think that's just guitar.
Is that just guitar?
Yeah. I mean, the only keyboards on this record are the piano in The Future's Open Wide and the da-da-da-da-da-da in the chorus. It's all, the guitars would have been, again, all of the lead stuff. There was JC 120, AC30, a Marshall, and the Leslie all going same time, or obviously individually, but then all put in together.
So I'm hearing some delay overtones or something that I was thinking was a keyboard. It's awesome.
That would be a really old Lexicon Echo that that we had in the studio. Even though it's a great studio, there wasn't that much equipment that are, you know, outboard effects and stuff like that. But so we use that lexicon a lot on, you know, like, you know, some people would use an eventide harmonizer a lot as their go-to thing. That we use the echo.
Yeah, you said there wasn't much, you know, outboard stuff to use or whatever, so you use what you had to get the job done.
Yeah. It was a bit like, you know, it would be, you know, we'd either have to kind of use it in the chorus or a verse. You know, we couldn't use it in both because one had a different setting. You know,
right. Well, the chorus 3 comes right out of this musical interlude.
I'll stop the world and melt with you. I've seen some changes, but it's getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't do. I'll stop the world and melt with you.
It's the same lyrics as the previous time, except for the third line. I've seen some changes, but it's getting better all the time. And do you remember if that was a Hugh suggestion or who suggested, hey, we should change it up here for chorus 3? Because every other chorus is the same.
I knew you were going to ask some tricky questions. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have to ask Rob about that.
Yeah, it's only on chorus 3. When we come back to chorus 4 later in the song, it goes back to the original lyric of "You've seen the difference," and it's getting better all the time. And
do you know what? I'm going to ask. I mean, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Rob goes, "Really? I'd completely forgotten about that." It's like years ago. I once mentioned to the keyboard player, you don't play in the first chorus, you know. And you go like, if we're playing live, you know, he'll still come in, and I say, you know, on the single, Steve, it's like the second chorus, but he, you know, goes, yeah, whatever.
That's awesome. Well, out of chorus 3, we have what I'm calling musical interlude 2. It's about the same as the first one. It's 8 bars total. But there's some great, and I could be wrong here with all the stuff you're telling me, but it sounds like great guitar feedback is throughout this one, as opposed to the first one. That is guitar.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have to ask, was there ever anybody, Hugh or anybody that said, it's weird to go back to this musical interlude? We just did it, and we did a chorus, and now we're back to it. Because I don't think it's weird at all. It's amazing.
You know, initially when Hugh, I mean, I'm still really good friends with Hugh, and he still always says that when I first played him, I Melt With You, I said, hey, it's a bit too poppy. And he said, are you out of your mind? And I said, no. And he said, there's nothing wrong with pop. You know, whereas we initially thought the Future's Open Wide section was the one that was more, you know, not what we were where we were coming from. So we were perfectly happy to have it in twice without, you know, there was no problem for us to have that part in there twice. And also we like the kind of, you know, like you said, C to F. No one can be annoyed by those 2 chords because they ring so purely, you know. But chucking a E minor after it, it's kind of like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a bit jarring, but it's not jarring here. And that's what's interesting about it. You know, it feels like it's just, it was perfectly sewn together.
Yeah. It's almost like having a bit of a breather. You know, it's like it kind of calms everything down for a second or two. It definitely works.
For sure. Well, when we get out of this musical interlude, we get into, I guess if there's a bridge in this song, Mick, or as the English would say, a middle 8, this, I guess, would be the part. And this is probably the most interesting part of the song to me. For nothing else, it's simplicity. It's simplicity, but it's effectiveness. And it's a double-tracked vocal for 8 bars, just kind of doing this it's humming the melody. And the bass is moving between those C and F notes. Yeah, again, simple, but so effective.
Yes, I mean, I don't think anyone really knows where the came from, but Rob would hum quite often. Like I was saying, when he's trying to get melodies and vocal ideas, and just like that. And part of I'm Out With You as well was me trying to rip off Walk on the Wild Side.
Yeah, she says, "Hey, babe, take a walk on the wild side." Said, "Hey, babe, take a walk on the wild side."
That's really interesting because I don't hear that, but okay.
Oh, great. This is it. It's like, but, I'd always been like playing around with that as well. And, of course, tempos get changed the more you kind of routine and work out a song. And it was like when we finally came, I'm Out With You is 158, which is like insane, BPM. So I really wanted to have a kind of like a tribute to Walk on the Wild Side or a nod in there. And that was that. And it just kind of, it worked.
What's interesting about the part is that, you said that Robbie be walking around. We all do it as singers. You're warming up between takes. It almost sounded like he might have been like, coming back from the toilet or something, or walking back in the control room and just humming, and Hugh or someone went, "That's brilliant."
Yes. Yeah. It was like, on one of the interviews that you did recently, you said, "Did anyone film it?" And the person said, "No, iPhones weren't invented then." This was like a very long time ago. But, it's like someone walked through a door doing something and you just, it's almost like keep walking to the microphone and just do what you did there.
The part's great, too. When you guys play it live, everyone's singing. Every dance club or bar I've ever been in, when this song comes on, the whole place is humming that part.
I know. When we did it, it was a bit like, okay, there's a great song, compact little song. Then, like what we're doing now is like deconstructing and analyzing something. It's like when you're 19, you don't do that kind of thing too much.
Absolutely not.
But the I'm Out With You has got, it's full of hooks. Hook lines all over the place. And there's about 4 or 5 in that song. In 3.5 minutes. And the even like humming that section on its own is recognizable as being part of, the greater thing that is I'm Out With You.
I know. It's incredible. Well, coming out of this humming part, the bridge here, what I'm calling the bridge, there's no backing vocal. That "Let's Stop the World" does not start off chorus 4. It just jumps right in. But a great drum fill takes us in here. And that's where I hear this. It's not a dance drum fill. It's like a rock drum fill. It's awesome.
I'll stop the world and melt with you. Stop the world. You've seen the difference and it's getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't do. Let's stop the world. I'll stop the world and melt with you. Let's stop the world. I'll stop the world and melt with you. Let's stop the world. I'll stop the world and melt with you. Let's stop the world.
Richard's not in the band, hasn't played with us for decades, but so we've had loads and loads of different drummers, and not loads, a few, and they all have problems with that fill.
It sounds like Animal from Sesame Street. It's like, what is this? It's very different.
Yeah, completely. That Hugh and Richard, I can remember all of this happening. It was like, Hugh wanted to have something that was totally not like a normal drum fill. And he knew that Richard was like not a normal drummer. So, they tried a few. And I think, that almost sounds, Richard was, quite a hard person to work with sometimes. But I think, it was a bit like, I'll show you. Instead of coming on the downbeat, he kind of like doesn't, and then comes down on like 1 3/4 instead of 2 even, and it just kind of like it sounds like someone's dropping their sticks or kicking a drum kit down the stairs.
It is definitely like, whoa, it's very knee jerk, but it's great. I can't imagine another Phil being there. The chorus lyric, I'll stop the world and melt with you. Let's stop the world. That response to it. You've seen the difference, and it's getting better all the time. Great harmony on that whole line. Let's stop the world. There's nothing you and I won't do. Let's stop the world. I'll stop the world and melt with you. Let's stop the world. I'll stop the world and melt with you. And that's where the fade starts, along with yet another high synth part that comes in there, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe that's unless that's like another delayed guitar part.
I actually think it's the guitar lead line, but it's the guitars going ding 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 ding, which is kind of like the verse, the kind of like intricate busy verse line. It's like up the neck, and then for the very outro, it goes up another octave.
Okay, then that's what I'm hearing, and as soon as I got to this right now, I'm saying, I bet that isn't a keyboard part. I bet that's that guitar.
Yeah.
And you corroborated that
on a Les Paul as well,
Well, after that, you get to another response of Let's Stop the World, and then I'll stop the world and melt with you. There's a great harmony on this line, but the melody's different on this one.
Completely.
And it's almost near the end of the fade out. You get this little bit of last minute ear candy that comes in, and you get another Let's Stop the World, and the last thing you hear is I'll stop the world and melt with you on the fade, and the song's done. And typically at this point, Mick, I'll ask the guest, did you ever think, and we've already covered that at the top, how would you ever think 40 years later you'd be talking about this song, and do you still get a kick out of playing it live?
Oh yeah, it's incredible. It's recently, last year we did the 40th anniversary of After the Snow, and we've played I Melt With You a lot. We've played at every concert we've done since we recorded it. And, towards the end of last year, Robbie would start saying to the audience, put your cameras away, because everyone, all you see is iPhones or cameras.
Yeah.
It's almost like these people, they want to be able to put it on their social media and all of that stuff. The song is definitely more famous than the band. Without a shadow of a doubt. But, there's no way that you could, predict that you'd still be like talking about this song, 40 years time. I'm sure everyone has said the same thing to you.
Well, this is one of those songs too, Mick, that to me, and, again, a lot of this is, dictated by what your royalty statements look like. But to me, the song is just as popular as it's ever been. It's still everywhere. I hear it all the time. And this has been so much fun. Before we break, thank you for listening to my podcast prior to this. You don't know what that means to me.
I love podcasts. My every now and then I think I've got to empty out all of my downloaded podcasts because my phone is like dying again. It was like when I got to your podcast, I was thinking, God, this guy's made 170 shows. I'm a train spotter as well, a geek. I like to know how people think and what they do as well.
That is awesome. Well, before we break, anything you'd like to leave the audience with, listeners, of what you got coming up, tours, what's happening?
Well, at the end of this last year, we went into the studio up here in upstate New York in Rhinebeck with a guy called Mario McNulty, who worked a lot with David Bowie and Laurie Anderson and Philip Glass as well. But he's done, works with Earl Slick, and he's produced the last album by an artist called The Anchoress, who's a British girl. So we've recorded a new LP, and right as we speak, it's being mixed. So that's going to be coming out this year. And we're playing at Cruel World in Pasadena on the 20th of March with Susie Sue, Iggy Pop, and Human League and Gang of Four, which is...
oh, man.
Yeah, no, it's going to be amazing, that gig. and Billy Idol, I've just heard as well. But basically, we've got we're even though we're talking about I Melt With You, we still like doing new music, and there's still we still have new stuff coming out, and it's we're really excited about that as well. I guess I Melt With You has made that possible.
Well, again, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure.
No, thank you. It's been good fun.
Man, I Melt With You. What a song. And what a good guy Mick Conroy is. I can't wait to talk to Chris about this episode in the rap segment that's coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo. There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do? I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault, a new series streaming now only on Peacock.
Extra value meals are back. That means 10 tender, juicy McNuggets and medium fries and a drink are just $8. Only at McDonald's.
For limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you. Ooh. Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
The Who's Down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
Una silla de masajes puede parecer extravagante. 8 configuraciones diferentes, intensidad ajustable, además es calefaccionado. Y se siente tan bien. Sí, una silla de masajes puede parecer extravagante. Y 2, bueno, aún más. Pero cuando esas sillas de masajes vienen con un auto, se vuelven bastante prácticas. El Volkswagen Tiguan con funciones premium como los asientos delanteros con masaje disponibles. Solo parece extravagante.
What if thousands of deals were waiting for you? Black Friday is here at Best Buy, where you'll find new doorbusters and big savings. But hurry, Black Friday deals end Saturday, November 29th. Shop now at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
If you like music and you like podcasts and you like to laugh and you like to learn, you need to immediately subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Each week on the One Hit Thunder podcast, we dive deep into the story and back catalog of a one-hit wonder band or artist. From there, we have a good, healthy discussion as to whether they brought the one-hit thunder or were nothing more than a one-hit wonder. We have a huge back catalog, and we've done episodes on everything from Don't Worry, Be Happy and the Macarena to King of Wishful Thinking and Cumbersome. I promise you're going to love the show more than Jaquan loved getting tipsy, and even more than Bobby Boris Pickett loved making alternate versions of the Monster Mash. Subscribe to One Hit Thunder wherever you get your podcasts.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, all you have to do is email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumighttnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Park After Dark, an indie electronic rock band from New York City. You can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Park After Dark. Here's a snippet of their song, Massacre.
It's a massacre. It's a fantasy. You don't know who I am. It's all in my dreams. So I'll just drink some
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
That was a really awesome episode, Chris. Right off the bat, we learned that Mick had listened to Chris DeMakes a podcast. I was honored. I was honored that he tuned in, and he knew what he was getting into, so that was cool.
Yeah, I was honored and flattered. That was just really cool. I had no idea, and he couldn't have been nicer and more appreciative of this song that has given him a 40-plus year career in the music business. Very cool.
Absolutely gotta love it when people still have the love for their iconic song. You know, it's not like he's got any sort of resentment about it. He loves it, and I love that. That's always, I would feel the same way if I had a hit like that.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned at the end, they have a brand new record that they're excited about, and that's what propels most bands, is that need to create. We have these songs inside us. They're emotional. We want to create and get them out. And he said, we do have other songs behind, besides I Melt With You, we're making new music. And he was kind of joking, but there was an underlying tone of seriousness there. It's like, yeah, it's obvious, but it's so cool that you can appreciate that song still, even though it's regarded and known as your biggest song.
Yeah. Push forward musically and artistically, but appreciate what your past music affords you to be able to do. I think that's the best attitude possible.
Yep.
There were things that he talked about in this episode. One of those things being John Peel. Now, I've learned a lot about John Peel recently because we did an episode of One Hit Thunder about the band T-Rex.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know T-Rex's story at all, John Peel was like the biggest champion of that band and a big part of how so many people found out about them at first. And so it made me think a lot about how important curators and tastemakers are. We live in a world, Chris, when I came up, it was MTV, and more specifically, it was shows like 120 Minutes and Headbangers Ball and things like that, where you have these tastemakers, these curators, be it Matt Pinfield, who I'm sure had some say in the music that played on there. Maybe not 100%, but definitely some, or Ricky Rackman or whoever,
right?
Who, there's something to be said for that, how these influential voices, on one hand, expose great artists to the world, and on the other hand, kind of block out some of the garbage,
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and you could take this all the way back to, prior to social media. You just said MTV and things of that nature, John Peel sessions, Top of the Pops. There was, American Bandstand. For me, it was the record store. Finding the cool record store in whatever town and getting your pulse on that town and what that was like, and talking to the clerk and being like, hey, what's going on? Oh, man, have you heard this? Check this out.
Right. It could be as simple as you go to your record store, and I remember at the record, I'm sure at some record stores they still have this, but you have the employees' picks on the wall.
Yeah.
And if you saw someone who had the same taste in you, you might want to check it out. I think there's importance in that. Also, something I think is always important in a song, Chris, are parts that are so memorable. And of course, this is a great song front to back, but to me, the most memorable part of this song is the hummed part.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you wait for that moment. You brought up several times, Chris, being at a party when this song's on,
yeah,
and how people sing along and being at the show. What a fun and different thing to sing along to. It probably wasn't until the Crash Test Dummies came along, a decade and a half later after this, that people could hum in the crowd to sing along,
Yeah, there's not many songs that hum, and I'll tell you, that hum part would have thrown me for a loop if Hugh Jones was the producer. I'll tell you what I would have done. It's so good and so catchy. I know I would have said to the rest of the band, shouldn't we start the song off like this? Or shouldn't it be somewhere else in the song? And that's what would drive me crazy. And hey, have the restraint to go, nope, this is where it comes in. It's the one time. That's where it's at. It's great.
It's also crazy thinking about tracking hums, because your mouth is closed. You can't do the techniques that you do, the singing techniques that you do. It seems like a tricky thing to do.
Yeah, someone can't tell you, hey, enunciate a little bit more. My mouth's closed.
Yeah, do that a little harder. Yeah, and, Mick referenced that they were young when they wrote this. It's such a perfect song that you don't think about it being a bunch of young people writing it, and now deconstructing it 40 years later, it was hard, and I'm sure it would be hard for anyone to talk about why they did the things they did, but man, oh man, it's a good thing that they did do the things they did.
Yeah, for sure. And Mick had a pretty darn good memory going back 40 years. There's sometimes I ask questions. He even laughed at some point later and he goes, I had a feeling you were going to ask that, which made me laugh a little bit. But yeah, who knew? Like he said, you can never ever plan these things out. I know I didn't do it. Any other musician I've talked to, did you think you'd be doing this in 5 years or 10 years? And you weren't thinking about that when you were 19 years old, 20 years old. You were thinking about, hey, there's 10 people here. That's 2 more people than the last time we played. And they're giving us a 6-pack this time. Hooray.
Yeah, right. This song sounds as great now as it did then. And at the same time, when I hear this song, it transports me back. It's like the song is like a time capsule or something. It puts you in that mood. You put this song on, if you have an 80s party, you put this song on, it takes you there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that's so amazing about music, is the way that sounds can transport you to another time. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the listeners, and we know this from all of you, from your feedback, you say every week, the memories I have attached to this song. That's what this podcast is really based about. It's always about that. It's what memories do you have? You hear it in Punchline. People come up to me all the time in Less Than Jake. This song means so much to me. I broke my leg in summer camp and this song got me through it, or whatever it is. It could be the most ridiculous thing. And that's what music does. It's great. I'll tell you something else that's great, Chris.
What's that?
Our supporting cast, which is our VIP program over at DeMakes.com, where you get bonus episodes each week of the after party for the price of a cup of coffee. Head over to DeMakes.com. We'd love to have you in our supporting cast, as well as the DeMakes podcast Facebook group. That's free to join, and we have a lot of fun in there. We take your suggestions. We get some great discussions going. And yeah, we're going to wrap this one up now. I want to thank this week's guest, Mick Conroy from Modern English, and we'll see you next week. If you're a band, artist, record label, or business looking to get your message out to a passionate audience of music lovers, consider advertising on Chris DeMakes a Podcast. We'd love to help you connect with our listeners in a meaningful and authentic way. Just drop a line to my producer, Chris Fafalius, at chrisfafalius@gmail.com. That's Chris, Fafalios @gmail.com. If our listener base sounds like it might be a good fit for you, reach out and we can talk rates and discuss the best way to effectively get your message across.